East Providence, Rhode Island. East Providence is a city in Providence County, Rhode Island, United States. The population was 47,037 at the 2010 census, making it the fifth largest city in the state. East Providence is located at 41 degrees 48'5" and 71 degrees 21'39" W, 41.80139 degrees north, 71.36083 degrees west, 41.80139, minus 71.36083. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 16.6 square miles, of which 13.4 square miles of it is land and 3.2 square miles of it is water. The following villages are located in East Providence. The mayor is Roberto Bob da Silva. In 1641, the Plymouth colony purchased from the Indians a large tract of land which today includes the northern half of East Providence, Rehoboth, Massachusetts, Seekonk, Massachusetts, and part of Pawtucket. 4 years later, John Brown of Plymouth bought a considerably smaller piece of land from the Indians, which today comprises the southern part of East Providence, Barrington, and a small part of Swansea. Finally, in 1661, Plymouth completed the north purchase from which Attleboro, North Attleboro, and Cumberland were later formed. Over the whole, the authorities gave the name Rehoboth. The center of this large settlement, which is sometimes referred to as Old Rehoboth, is within the borders of modern East Providence. In 1812, the western half of Old Rehoboth was set off as a separate township called Seekonk, Massachusetts. Old Rehoboth's town center now became the heart of Old Seekonk. Finally, in 1862, the western part of Old Seekonk was ceded to Rhode Island and incorporated as East Providence. Beginning around 1900 and continuing until the onset of the Depression in 1930, large numbers of Portuguese from Providence, Fall River, New Bedford, and Portugal settled in East Providence. By 1905, there were over 400 Portuguese in the town, the third highest in the state. The Portuguese, like other ethnic groups, were drawn to East Providence primarily by the lure of jobs. Many employment opportunities were available in the Wachamoket area, where numerous immigrants settled. In decades preceding the Civil War, Wachamoket Point was little more than a farming and fishing area with perhaps a few hundred residents. Wachamoket was situated directly across from the thriving city of Providence and thus benefited from the expansion of that community. More importantly, 2 bridges across the Seekonk River gave easy access to Wachamoket. By the 1860s, tolls were no longer being charged to cross the Washington and Central bridges, giving further stimulus to the growth of Wachamoket and the transformation of the village from a sleepy fishing area to the vital core of East Providence in 1862. Perhaps the first businesses to come to Wachamoket were inns built to service the large numbers of people coming through. The residents of Wachamoket also had their own library by the early 1870s. At first the organizers named it Ladies' Library Association, but in 1885 they changed the name to Wachamoket Free Public Library. Already the commercial and population center of East Providence, by the mid-1880s, Wachamoket next became the political center as well. The town hall was moved from Rumford to the heart of the community, so it was more accessible. They purchased a lot on Taunton Avenue for $11,500 and erected a 2-story brick building which opened in 1889. That same year the East Providence Police Department opened its headquarters in the town hall. For some time after the incorporation of the town in 1862, the area around the old Ring of the Green was referred to as East Providence Center. The official town hall was located here until 1889, as were several churches. Moreover, the village was the population center of East Providence, containing many farms and mills along the 10-mile river. Many people migrated from East Providence Center to the new center at Wachamoket. From the time of the Wanamwazet Purchase in 1645 to the Civil War, the shoreland from Wachamoket to Bullock's Point had remained a sparsely settled fishing and farming area. When East Providence was incorporated, no more than a few hundred of its residents made the coastal village their home. The white settlers had first learned of the plentiful supply of shellfish in the area from the Wampanoag Indians. More than 2 centuries later, the waters of Narragansett Bay, which washed the shores of Wanamwazet, still contained an abundant supply of edible sea treasures. Clams, quahogs, and oysters were harvested by Wanamwazet residents and sold in Providence. Arnold Medbury, for instance, brought his plow to the shoreline and began picking up clams by the handful. He loaded the shellfish on a cart and easily sold his entire day's catch in Providence. At that time, Medbury and his neighbors were referred to as clamdiggers, a derogatory term comparable to the pejorative hayseed. Already, by the early 19th century, individuals had begun to build summer homes, causing the population to double to about 500 to 600. During that time period, Cedar Grove, Lewis Station, Chimney Corners, Peck's Corner, Pleasant Bluffs, Sabines Point, Sherman Station, and Pomham were developed. New resort facilities were built, such as the Pomham House. Numbers of roads were lined with trees and houses, Christian churches were formed, a library was built, and the Narragansett Engine Company was formed in 1878. By that time, the residents were no longer dismissed as clamdiggers, but regarded as townspeople. While many transactions were taking place, Charles I. DeLuff came to Riverside. He was a woodcarver for a furniture business in New York, and spent spare time in his basement carving wooden horses as a hobby. After long years of hard work, he produced the first steam-powered carousel and sold it to Crescent Park. He operated the carousel and designed a summer recreation area. By the early 1900s, New Englanders recognized Crescent Park as the leading amusement park in the region. Luff accomplished fantastic achievements and, after his death, his family continued to operate Crescent Park. The park closed in the 1970s and the land was used for condominiums. The Crescent Park Luff Carousel still remains. The city of East Providence is governed by an elected mayor and a 5-member city council, with the mayor and councilors elected every 4 years. City council members are elected one each from 4 wards and one elected at large. The mayor is both the ceremonial leader of the city and the chief executive officer. The mayor runs the daily operations of the city, enforces the charter and ordinances of the city and appoints all department heads except the city clerk. The current mayor of East Providence is Roberto da Silva, who took office on January 9, 2019. Up until January 9, 2019, the day-to-day operations were managed by a professional city manager appointed by the city council, and the mayor was the president of the city council, acting ceremonially. The city council sets all city ordinances, sets the budget of the city and provides legislative oversight for city operations. The city council elects a council president and council vice president to preside over meetings. The city council also appoints the city clerk. Up until 2019, the city council served 2-year terms and the city council oversaw the entire city government under a council-manager system. The current members of the East Providence City Council are Robert Rodericks, at large, first took office in January 2019. Robert Brito, Ward 1, first took office in December 2014. Anna Souza, Ward 2, first took office in 2016. Nathan Cahoon, Ward 3, first took office in January 2019. Ricardo Morato, Ward 4, first took office in January 2019. The City of East Providence has a municipal court which hears cases regarding violations of municipal ordinances, housing code violations and minor traffic violations. The city also has a probate court which handles estates, name changes, guardianships and related matters. Judges for both courts are appointed by the mayor with confirmation by the city council for a term of 2 years. Municipal Court Judge, Lisette M. Gomez. Associate Municipal Court Judge, Vacant Probate Judge, Maria Ferro-Deedon. Associate Probate Judge, Christine Angustian. The city also has an elected school committee, elected for 2-year terms by the same ward system as the city council. The school committee has broad authority to manage the school system, including setting all school system policies, setting the school system budget, as well as selecting and overseeing the superintendent of schools. School committee members are Joel Montero, at large; Charles Tsonos, Ward 1; Anthony Ferreira, Ward 2; Karen Oliveira, Ward 3; Jessica Beauchesne, Ward 4. The city has an appointed library board of trustees which governs the city's library system, and various other appointed governing and advisory boards and commissions. The city has recently created a commission charged with facilitating the redevelopment of old industrial sites and brownfields along most of East Providence's 14-mile coastline on the Seekonk River as mixed-use residential, commercial, and light industrial zones. As of the census of 2000, there were 48,688 people, 20,530 households, and 12,851 families residing in the city. The population density was 3,632.1 people per square mile. There were 21,309 housing units at an average density of 1,589.6 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 86.49% white, 5.02% African American, 0.46% Native American, 1.15% Asian, 0.05% Pacific Islander, 2.80% from other races, and 4.03% from two or more races. Hispanic or Latino of any race were 1.89% of the population. There were 20,530 households, out of which 27.1% had children under the age of 18 living with him, 46.3% were married couples living together, 12.7% had a female householder with no husband present, and 37.4% were non-families. 32.4% of all households were made up of individuals, and 14.6% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.33 and the average family size was 2.99. In the city, the population was spread out, with 21.7% under the age of 18, 7.4% from 18 to 24, 29.4% from 25 to 44, 22.6% from 45 to 64, and 18.9% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 40 years. For every 100 females, there were 86.8 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 82.6 males. The median income for a household in the city was $39,108, and the median income for a family was $48,463. Males had a median income of $34,342 versus $26,423 for females. The per capita income for the city was $19,527. About 6.3% of families and 8.6% of the population were below the poverty line, including 10.7% of those under age 18 and 11.0% of those aged 65 or over. The population has large immigrant communities from Portugal, the Azores, Madeira, and Cape Verde. East Providence has 13 public and 5 non-public schools, has 13 public and 5 non-public schools, has 13